Hey everyone, welcome back. This video is going to continue our conversation about links. In a previous video, I talked about external links, and I also covered internal links in the same directory, or internal links that are going up the directory tree or down the directory tree. But now we're going to continue going with links and finding other ways to make links happen, starting with what we call a fragment link. This means that we can also link to specific places on our web page. And document fragment links provide shortcuts that make it easy, for example, to go back to the top of a page or to jump down to a specific location or section in a page. And we accomplish this by using two different steps. First, we need to identify what our destination is, and then we need to create the map that's going to go to that destination. So in those two steps, our destination, we're going to use a unique ID attribute to classify that destination as the one and only source that you can get to. And then the second part of that is we're going to connect it with this map by using an anchor and an href that points to the ID. So we're going to take a look at this by using that same week 5 demo links folder that was found out in Blackboard, and I'm going to use the puppycare.html file that we were working with in a previous video. So in order to make this work, I want to have a location to jump to, and I want to have a place to click from. So notice in this first article in our main, you can see that there is a heading, an H2, where there's an ID set to the value of vet. This ID is uniquely identifying the heading for this particular article. If I were to scroll down just a little bit, you can see I have 3 more articles. One is for shopping for quality food. One is for establishing a bathroom routine, and one is for teaching obedience. I'm going to create unique IDs for each of the H2 headings inside of those articles so that I can mark them as unique. And if I'm looking for a unique value, I'm going to want to start with an ID. So I'm going to add an ID to each of the headings, starting with the food, and I'll create one for the bathroom and the obedience articles. Now that we have a way to uniquely identify each article, let's go back up to the top of our page. And we're going to need anchor items to act as the link to get us to those locations. So inside of our unordered list, I'm going to create 4 more list items, each one holding an anchor element. I'll create the first one and then use copy paste to create the remaining 3. So you can see I have a total of 5 list items in my navigation, the first one being for go home. So let's create the actual content that we will click on when the time comes to take us to the locations inside of our page, starting with vet. But I also need one for food, bathroom training, and obedience training. Alright, the last piece of our puzzle is to create the actual map that's going to take us to those locations. In our href, we want to be able to reference the IDs that we just set. So we had one for vet, food, bathroom, and obedience. And if I want to specifically refer to an ID, I can just use the hashtag or the #. Those are synonymous. So where it says href, I'm going to put in ID, and then I'm going to put in which ID I'm pointing to. In this case, I'm pointing to the vet. So if I were to come into this navigation and click on the vet, it's going to try to push this vet all the way up to the top of our page. And there it did. It pushed it as far up as it could get. This is the fragment linking portion. Now a quick note on this, if I were to do the second one for food, so again I'm going to refer to the ID, so I'll use that hashtag or #, that's actually saying ID. So the href is equal to the ID of food. And now if I scroll back up to the top of this page and I click on food, it's going to try to push shop for quality food as high up into our preview window as it possibly can. But there's a problem because there's only so much page left and it can't go up any further than what our page allows. So for example, if I click on food, it can't bring shop for quality food all the way up to the top of our preview pane because we've already reached the bottom of what's allowable for scrolling, push that up to the top. So we can work around that by minimizing our window or reducing our window size. So I'll do that real quick. So I've reduced the amount of screen that I have available to me in the preview. And now if I scroll all the way up to the top here and I click on food, this time it can push shop for quality food all the way to the top of our viewport because there's plenty of extra room or extra page that's down below what we have visible in our viewport. So fragment linking can get us really quick to our location if there's an available space left for it, which is always a good thing because you never really know what someone's using to view your content. I'll backfill the last two hrefs where the ID is equal to bathroom and the ID is equal to obedience. And again, we can test this by clicking on the links, scrolling back up to the top and clicking on the final link. And because there's no more room left, it just can't scroll up any further. It can't quite get teach obedience all the way to the top the way it is right now. If I wanted to see that in action, I would need to reduce my viewport even more and try it one more time. And there we have it. Always test to make sure that your links are taking you to where they need to go. Make sure that if you need to reduce the viewport or to zoom in, that you are trying that in order to test out each one of your fragment links for accuracy. Now I'm going to open my viewport all the way back up to its maximum size, because there's still another type of a fragment link that we can cover, and that's document fragment linking to another page. It's not enough that we can link inside of the existing page that we're on, but what if we want to jump to a location on a different page? I'm going to open up the index.html page, and this time I want to uniquely identify that first article in the main element that talks about temperament. So inside of my heading, I'll add an ID equal to temperament. Now if I wanted to get specifically to this location from a different page, I have a way to get there because I've uniquely identified this part. So let's go back to our puppy care page, and I'm going to scroll down to that section that talks about obedience training, and I'm going to add one more paragraph. This one's going to say learn more about temperament. I'm going to wrap the word temperament inside of an anchor element, and then I'll backfill my opening anchor tag with my actual href. Now this time, I can't just use the actual ID of temperament because on this page, we don't have that value. It's actually located on a whole different page. It's located currently on our index page. So in order for me to actually make this link work, I need to first specify which page that fragment is on. So I'll type in index.html, and now the href address is basically saying take me to the index page and then find the ID that's equal to temperament. So when I save these changes and I click on that temperament link, it's going to take me to the index page, right straight to the temperament. And it can't scroll up any higher because we've reached the bottom of our page. So in order to test this, I'll reduce my page size. I'll go back to the puppy care page, and I'm going to scroll all the way down to the bottom, select the link for temperament, and be redirected to my index.html page where the ID is equal to temperament. So now that we know that our link works, that's how we can get to not just a fragment link, but a fragment link that's located on another page. I'll go ahead and return my page to its normal size. Now another type of a link that we have access to is going to actually target how it opens. In this case, I'm referring to whether or not we want to open a new tab or a new window. And we want to really carefully consider whether we want to do this, whether we want to open a browser tab or a window, because users that have too many tabs open can tend to become lost, it can be problematic for accessibility, and it can really be kind of confusing. The end user should be able to determine how they would like to use and view their own browser. I'll talk more about that in just a moment. First, let's go back to the index.html page and then find that link that we created for Pet Finder. Here's that link that takes me to the Pet Finder. But for right now, before I open up Live Server, I'm going to add one attribute inside of my opening anchor called the target attribute. And with the target attribute, I have a couple of different values that I can set it to, but for the purpose of this demonstration, I'm going to use _blank. Now I'll open this up in my live server, and if I click on this Pet Finder link, you can see it opens up a whole new tab. So over here on this tab is my actual page, and the new link is opened in a new tab. But here's where I want to point out some cautions. When we use the target attribute and we're setting the value, we're removing the option for the end user to have a choice how they want to open up or have their browser experience. For example, if I go back to my page, and I right-click on any of my links, for example this Pet Finder, I can already open this up into a new tab. By setting the target value, I'm removing that choice from the end user by forcing it to open in a new tab, which takes away from the end user's experience. And if there's one thing that we really want to have, it's that we get to choose how we use our internet experience. When I use my browser, I want to have a choice whether I want to open that link in a new tab. And if I were to continue to come back to this Pet Finder page, I could click on it over and over and over again, opening multiple tabs that are all essentially the same thing. So when we talk about becoming lost or having it be problematic for accessibility, this is what we're referring to. Whereas the end user gets to make a choice by right-clicking and opening in a new tab, or just simply clicking on this link and having it open in the existing tab, having that target attribute strips that away. If I remove the target attribute and go back to this page and once again select Pet Finder, it opens in the same window. For me, I can always use my back browser up here to take me back to where I want to go. With that target equals blank, I lose that option. So I'm going to go ahead and add that back in because I want to show you one more thing. I'll scroll all the way down to that second link that we created for VetBabble, and I'll create my target attribute here as well. Now if I scroll back and click VetBabble, I have that open in a new tab as well. I can flip back and forth and continue to make these open. So as you can see, this can get very confusing. What if we wanted to have both of these links open up the same tab? Well, we can do that by giving both of those target attributes the same value as long as it's another value than blank. It just has to be the same. And it can be anything. For example, I could set that target to monkey banana. In fact, let's do that. As long as both of my target attributes match, this should work. So I'll copy this target and I'll paste it up here in my Pet Finder link. Now that I have a matching target, I can save my changes, go back over to my How to Pick a Dog Breed or index page, and I'm going to close out all of the other links to the right-hand side so that we can see this happen in action. I'll right-click and I'll close other tabs to the right, and now when I click on Pet Finder, it does open up into a new tab, but this time when I click on VetBabble, it's going to replace my Pet Finder tab with the VetBabble tab. So in this manner, while we might be using multiple tabs or at least an additional tab, the advantage to setting the target equal to the same value is that anytime that you do open an additional tab, it's going to be replaced with the next page or link that that user clicks on. So that could be an advantage for you. But I still want to caution against using the target attribute. As much as possible, it's better to not use the target and let the actual end user decide how they want to have their browser experience without you having to force that onto them. Okay, let's cover two more links. So I'm back in VS Code, and the last two I want to cover, one is an email link. And we can provide links that open up the user's default email service or software that they have set on their system to begin any kind of an email message. So in the past, if you've clicked on an email and it brought up, let's say, Microsoft Office or Google Gmail and allowed you to start an email, well, that is an example of an email link. I would say to use this with caution also, because putting the Mailto Protocol inside of a document source makes it susceptible to any kind of a junk mail. Bots can scan the web for those particular protocols. At the bottom of our index.html page in the footer, right after the paragraph and the link to the VetBabble, we're going to add some text. It's going to be an address element, which is an inline element, in order to make our content look like it's in italicized text. So I'll add the address, and I'm going to put contact the webmaster. I'll wrap my webmaster with an anchor element, and I'll backfill my opening anchor tag with my href. And this time, I'm going to use the Mailto Protocol. So I'll type in Mailto. And then I'm going to use a colon, and then the actual email address that I would like to have my email sent to. In this case, I'll just use webmaster@web.com. Now, if we were to click on this link, it would open up my default email software, which I don't have set on this system, so it would probably open up something asking me if I want to set that value. And I'll need to do that in the live server because in the live preview, it won't be able to access anything. I'll click on Webmaster, and because I don't have my email service set up, it's asking me if I want to log into Gmail or to create an account in order to use that service. However, if I already had something set up, it would open up a window and allow me to start that email. We can do this also with phone numbers. We can set up a way that interacts with mobile phones or desktop telephony devices, just like the Mailto Protocol. The Tel Protocol works with an end user's default system's setup. So inside of our address, we're going to end up adding a break element right after our anchor element so that we can have a second anchor element. And this one is going to be for a call. We'll say prefer talking, call, and then our phone number. Next, we'll backfill our href with our actual value. So here we're going to put in the TEL, and that indicates the telephone protocol. We'll put in our colon, and now we need to put in our phone number. So before I put in a phone number, I just want to make a couple of points. Not everyone visiting websites are going to be local or from the United States. So dialing a 10-digit phone number may not be enough. We need to make sure that we're including the country code too. And we want the content of the link to be the same as whatever number is dialed, just in case our link doesn't work for an end user, so that way they can manually add or type in the number into their phone. Now you can opt to include or exclude the extensions, but don't put any spaces. And I recommend writing the number without any dashes. So I'll put in plus and then 01 for our country code, which in this case is the United States, and then the phone number to match exactly what we have displayed, 608-123-4567. And that's the telephone protocol. Now a couple of quick final notes on anchors. You can put an anchor element anywhere inside of the body element. And the anchor can stand alone, meaning you don't need to put an anchor inside of a list item or a paragraph, a span, a nav, a div, or anything like that. And if it's not something that's required, don't add unnecessary markup to your document. So if you're adding anchor items, don't worry about putting a paragraph around it. If it's not already part of the structure of the page, just go ahead and add that anchor element. Now that's all I have for you for links in this video, but if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask.